Evening one and all, this is my match reaction or review to Manchester City 2, Southampton 1. Now, I think the headline has got to be spirited, committed, resilient and a far cry from whatever horror show that was last Friday. It has been Halloween since then. And, I think the fortunes have changed somewhat here. But let's go through this step by step then. 14 minutes in, Ward-Prowse opens the scoring, pouncing on a mistake from Ederson after he sort of bounces Armstrong's shot. And Ward-Prowse has had a fair few critics over the last, few weeks, in fact. He's sort of hardly had an influence so far this season, but the statistics don't lie now. He's a much better player now under Ralph Hasenhüttl. He's scored 9 goals in the last sort of 18 months or so. Well, even in fact, in a year since Ralph has been in charge. So certainly a different player to what he was, and you need to give him a bit of credit here. But let's get to the rest of it then. And after that goal, we absolutely dug in, and it was a long way to go. We were strapping ourselves in for a hammering or other, but you've got to give credit where it's due, and the boys were committed to absolutely everybody today. It was attack versus defence, very much similar kind of to Tuesday evening Carabao Cup, but they were organised, they were committed, taking absolutely no risks. They were hoofing it when they needed to hoof it, send it into Rosed, and we were not rash in the challenge. We stood up to City, who cast frustrated figures for most of the match. Once again, though, I do feel like we are almost the architects of our own downfall sometimes. And after City's pressure, they finally found an equaliser from Aguero, and it is a very similar goal to what happened on Tuesday evening. He steps away from the marker, finds himself 2 or 3 yards of space, and all he has to do then is just fire the ball past McCarthy. Unlucky sort of for McCarthy, the ball goes through his legs, and they find their equaliser. Suddenly their tails are up, and you thought it's just a sort of a matter of time when they can score the next one. But fortunately, or sort of unfortunately, I guess for them, they had to wait 15 minutes for it, and it could have easily come sooner though. I'm going to highlight McCarthy here, who picks the ball up from a back pass. I was just saying that we didn't make any rash decisions. McCarthy obviously wasn't aware in that build-up to that sequence and lost his concentration there for a moment, and I'll get to more of him in just a moment as well. But suddenly, for all of our spirit and endeavour, you almost thought we were there to crumble. We're playing for the point now at this stage in the game, and trying to find time to waste, trying to find the end of that game as soon as we could. But it is a case of erratic decisions that have let us down. McCarthy picking up the ball, just previously, unaware of the situation, losing his concentration, and it could be said that he's lost his concentration for the second time in this match. But I've got to give him credit where it's due. He made some fantastic saves this afternoon and kept us in the game for most of this afternoon. But he comes flapping for the ball. He doesn't get any sort of connection onto it, and he's seen him do this a few times now in the last few appearances. He's coming for the ball but not getting any sort of a connection to it. He flaps at it. It falls to Walker, who just fires it into basically what is an empty net, and it gives them the winner. It's 2-1, 5 minutes to play, but we have to come out of this game with pride. We absolutely did ourselves proud this afternoon, but I want to highlight some other things. Why were the officials so lenient on Pep Guardiola today? He was seen running out of his technical area dozens of times to pick up the ball for the throw-ins, basically acting as the ball boy. So why didn't the referee or the officials or the fourth official warn him? The referees now have the power to book managers. And, you've seen, if you watch back the full highlights, you might see Pep Guardiola also furiously shouting at the Saints staff. So why wasn't he warned? It's almost a case that it's one rule for City or Liverpool or whatever, but it's another rule for the rest of the division. And why wasn't Aguero booked for basically taking 5 minutes to get off the pitch, trotting off as slow as he possibly could? He was furiously irate at the referees and shouting at James Ward-Prowse to tell him to get off the pitch. He should be taking the closest position from the pitch to speed up the game. So he should have been booked. Pep Guardiola should have been booked or warned, and they were too lenient. But clutching a little bit, to be honest, guys. But we've got to be proud of the performance and an immense effort from everybody involved this afternoon. They should be proud. They should be holding their heads high out of the Etihad this afternoon. We've restored a bit of pride after last week's horror show. Let's not be downtrodden. You know, we can feel heartbroken and we can feel aggrieved about sort of officials, etc. But we had absolutely nothing to lose here. And that's why we went hell for leather in that final 5 minutes, throwing Vestergaard and Jack Stevens up at centre forward. So I think at the end of the day, we've got to come out with this with our heads held high and a bit of confidence now slowly growing within the team. We've got to build on this next week with a home win against Everton.